Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll do the invocation prayers very quickly. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Daranti Sambarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupa Sagujatam Sahaguna Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paramsha Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidhamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavanespuri Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasha Kripa Sindho Bhyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, reading from chapter 2, verse 1. Chapter 2 is contents of the Gita summarized. Sanjaya Uvacha. Feel free to read along. Tam tata kripaya vishtam asrupurna kulekshanam visidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. Translation. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion and very sorrowful, his eyes brimming with tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kasmalam Idam Visame Samupastitam Anarya Justam Asvaryam Akirti Kadam Arjuna. The Supreme Person Bhagavan said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the progressive values of life. They do not lead to higher planets, but to infamy. Klaibyam asmagamha parta natatvai upapadyate sujam hirdayadhar balyam tvaktotista parantapa. O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Arjuna uvacha katam bhishmam aham sankhye dronam cha madhusudana ishubhi patiyot yami purjaha arisudana. Arjuna said, O killer of Madhu, Krishna, how can I counteract with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship? Gurun ahadvahi mahanubhavam Shreya bhaktam bhakshyam apitaloke hadvartal kamams tu gurun ihaiva punjiya bogan rudira pradigdan. It is better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though they are avaricious, they are nonetheless superiors. If they are killed, our spoils will be tainted with blood. Nachai tadvidma kataram no gario yadva jayema yadi vano jayayu. Yau eva hatvana jijiva samas tevastita pramuke tartarastra. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. The sons of Dhritarashtra, whom if we killed, we should not care to live, are now standing before us on this battlefield. Everybody. Karpanya dosho upata swabhava prichami tvam dharma samudachetaha yachcheya shani shitan buhitarme sisyaste hamsadi mam tvam papanam. This is a very famous verse. It's like Hamlet right now, to be or not to be. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Nahi prapasyami mama panudyad yadshokam uchosanam indriyanam avapya bhuma asapadnam ridam rajam suranam apichadipatyam. I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to destroy it, even if I win an unrivaled kingdom on the earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Sanjaya uvacha evan ukva hishikenam gudaksh gudakesha parantapa nayocha iti govindam ukva tusnim puvaha. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Tam uvacha hirshikesha prahasan iva bharata senayor ubayor madhye visidantum idam vachahan. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asochan Anvasochastvam Bhagyavadam Shabasase Kutasun Agatasumscha Nanusochanti Pandita. The Blessed Lord said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Natva evaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipa nachaiva nabhavishama karpayam atapadam. Okay, sorry, that was 11 verses. So let us go to text 7, since this is really the climax. And this is where Arjuna, after arguing with Krishna, like real friends, you can see that even in a few verses, a real friendship is established. In a friendship, there can be all different types of rasas, right? Rupa Goswami says there are 12 rasas. Directly, we have the neutral or adoration, servitorship, friendship, parental, and conjugal. But in the indirect rasas, there's anger, shock, horror, humor, right? These make the direct relation have more gravitas, or more, for Krishna, more relishable. So Arjuna really right now is picking a fight with Krishna. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he jabs at Krishna and says, would you kill your grandfather? Would you kill your spiritual teacher? You wouldn't, right? And Krishna, being situated as the absolute truth, the impersonal Brahman, the source of Brahman, the Paramama and Bhagavan, is accepting the jabs of his dear friend Arjuna. But you can see here, Krishna, he's silent and he's completely peaceful and even smiling. So at this point, Arjuna realizes his weakness. And this verse, text 7, is when Arjuna realizes that despite his anger, despite his buildup, and despite his jabs at Krishna, Krishna is still standing there, fully attractive, fully situated, blissful, and smiling at him. So at that point, Arjuna just falls down and he says this verse, now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure. Shishi Goranitai Ki. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So imagine you approach your friend, you're arguing, and you just really go at him. You're like, sharing your heavy anartas, and you're just, expressing rage, and you're completely bewildered. And you see your friend, and he's just emanating like pure love and like smiling, and he's just, you know, at that point, with that humility, Arjuna just he finally surrenders. Purport. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not, therefore, remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Garga Upanishad, the perplexed man is described as follows. Yova etad aksharam gargi avidi vasma lokat patisa kripana. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs without understanding the science of self-realization. This human form of life is a most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. The Kripanas, or miserly persons, waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. In the material conception of life, one is often attached to family in life, namely to wife, children, and other members on the basis of skin disease. The Kripana thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still, on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious, and now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself. And yet, foolish, mundane scholars explained that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna's within and without. And one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. So this is really a wonderful opportunity for Srila Prabhupada here to emphasize Arjuna's example. I was meditating on when I came to Krishna consciousness, I first manifested real loving feelings uh, for the spiritual master, for Krishna, when I saw these tapes, these interviews that Siddhant Prabhu, who's a Prabhupada disciple, compiled of all these amazing Vaishnavas and their most intimate stories with Srila Prabhupada. I remember being in the Prasad hall and everyone's just, in front of their plate and eating. And as I was eating, I just couldn't help myself. It was really hearing their stories really brought me to tears, and I had to like remove myself quietly, and it really provoked me to surrender to this hearing and chanting process that Srila Prabhupada gave us. It's these his disciples really have so many different backgrounds and stories as to how they came to Krishna consciousness. Right now, I'm reading a book by Tranakarta Prabhu. I'm only maybe a fourth of the way in, and his background and his childhood, he's so brutally honest. His dad was a Marine, a boxer. He used to grow up playing hockey and get in fights. And one day he bought this dog, and he loved the dog, and the dog just was at a park and found this book under a tree, just came up to it. And Tranakarta Prabhu was able to receive the Krishna book. So Krishna really attracts people, and then when they hear the words of the pure devotee, it's like the bat signal goes out, and they go, okay, we got to find that guy, that spiritual master, who wrote this. Like, it really felt like they were called on, like by Krishna, and many of them answered that call of duty. This book called Ohare Krishna is about in the mid 70s, when O'Hare Airport in Chicago, the biggest airport, international airport, became a holy dham, a place of pilgrimage where dozens of our best book distributors like Tripurari Swami and Vaisheshika, you had Kavi Chandra, Mergendra stop in, and even Tamal Krishna and Vishnu John, they heard about this glories in Chicago. So even today, we can still consider this airport to be like a holy place, because there was so many amazing stories that happened. It feels like definitely that it would be part of this Gora Lila that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiated and Srila Prabhupada extended to the West, and empowered by this book distribution. It's amazing to still have the opportunity to associate with these devotees who answered the call of duty that Krishna flashed out, and they, by their intuition, by some desire, they were able to surrender to His Divine Grace, Abhaytron Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It's not normal by any means. It's inconceivable and um, divine and incredible. Uh, uh, I will say that, and I'm not only saying this because I'm here at RVC, but if you haven't read how His Holiness Danavir Goswami Maharaj came to Krishna consciousness, it's a real treat. I don't know anyone that I've heard their stories. I've heard dozens now, but someone who just through logic completely gave up their material activities and became instantly convinced of Krishna consciousness. Bhakta Adam Prabhu and I are going back to Los Angeles, and one of our services is going to be to serve a Prabhupada disciple named Govinda Datta Prabhu. He has a food truck there called Krishna Lunch, and it's a very nice program. They started 18 months ago, and they're doing over 100 plates of prasadam to the students, $5 a plate, 2 sabjis, rice and dal, and halava. It's an amazing deal. So, we were telling Maharaj about going back to LA and doing this service, and Maharaj said, "That's where I met the first devotee, right in that next to that parking lot where the food truck is." So it just felt like Aiden Prabhu and I are just following in the footsteps of the spiritual master. We're really just we're just here to go to these places where devotees have blessed this world, and if we follow, if we try to strictly follow and take advantage, then we can also get that same mercy and be in this parampara, this disciplic succession. But yeah, we definitely have to be sincere, as Prabhupada is always promoting. So this, you guys have any thoughts, or just kind of wanted to?
Hare Krishna. In regards to this text number 7 is kind of the mood, from what I gather is the mood that one should invoke when they themselves submit themselves at the feet of a spiritual master. And I've been hearing that you should make yourself a blank slate when you go to render service and submissively inquire to the Guru. You should be a blank slate. But we have so much baggage that we're carrying with us, so much negative samskaras, so much pollution, contaminants. So how do we clear ourselves from these things? How do we make ourselves a blank slate to make ourselves as receptive as possible to the wisdom, the knowledge?
We should not have any fear. We should not also try to act humble. The process is simple if we just learn how to approach in that mood of humility. One can do that if they have a question or if they have some attitude for service. That's what Krishna says, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya. That if one inquires means to have some desire to hear. If one has that mood, or if one has a desire to do a little service, then one is qualified to approach a spiritual master. So we just have to learn how to desire that mood. What I like to do is really think about, I like to really chew on and contemplate and like find what in my heart I lack or what I wish to know. And and when I'm chanting, I'm asking for service and thinking, okay, Krishna, how like how can I serve the devotees? And but sometimes in the chanting and the reading and especially reflecting, taking time to really like um, contemplate Krishna consciousness, I find that we can ask the right questions. Srila Prabhupada is saying in this purport that that when we want to get serious, that means that we're putting the time in. Doesn't mean we're like, okay, I'm serious now. Like I'm gonna be like really, like serious. And no, he's just saying that we're like putting the time into uh, being more in depth and really try to um, yeah to reflect on who we are and what you know uh, um, and the process. So that's been very helpful. It's like by going inward deeper and deeper, the results will manifest on its accord because Krishna is arranging. The more closer we get to the super soul, to the instructions of spiritual master, in our kirtans, more we situate the mind within the self, then Krishna, by virtue of coming closer to him, who's the root of all existence, then automatically the results come of its own accord. We don't have to make that extraneous effort to try to, um, you know, that helps us avoid a fruitive mentality. It also helps us to, yeah, really just um, to to engage further. Um, this mind is the most important tool. This mind, and Prabhupada is really also emphasizing this in the beginning of the purport that we don't want to be a miser. In this human form of life, we're given this amazing tool. I love this analogy that Brigupati Prabhu uses, and you might have heard it. So an Apple MacBook, it's like a pretty amazing tool, right? For you can like work from home, you can do so many things. So imagine if you didn't weren't so familiar with the Apple MacBook and you use that MacBook to crack open a walnut. You use the top screen because you don't know what a Apple MacBook is, and you use that tool to crack open a walnut. That would be a poor use of the tool, right? So similarly with our mind, it's such an advanced tool. Hare Krishna has so much possibility for service and to know Krishna. But if we're just using it for eating and sleeping, mating and defending, it's like cracking a walnut with a MacBook. That's so miserly, right? So miserly. I love that example that he gives. So yeah, we're fortunate in this human form of life, and we've come across the Krishna consciousness movement, and we have association of devotees. We're taking prasadam every day. We have a roof over our heads. We have a program. Uh, we have pure devotee. We have all of this, and it's just meant for us to relish and become more absorbed and go deeper and really seek out Krishna in our heart and get that taste, that reciprocation of bhakti that our soul is so hankering for. Any thoughts here?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Bro. Two questions. First one. So, if you do not know the value of something, it's hard to appreciate it. So similarly, if you don't know, like you mentioned, the mind has so much potential, but if you don't know how much potential or what the potential looks like, it becomes very hard to appreciate it. So
Krishna has so much potential, inconceivable potential. Maya also has a lot of potential. Is that what you said? What did you say?
mind.
Mind. Oh, mind. I thought you said Maya. Yeah, mind has so much potential, but that potential has to be channeled, right? Where is our mind going to put our attention, and how to engage? So we have to remember we're not this mind. We say my mind, right? Who's the my? Obviously, Ham Brahmasmi. I am spirit soul. I'm not this body, not this mind. So first we have to know that we're not this mind and be able to use the mind, right? Just like a person uses a laptop, right? And gets so much enthusiasm in front of their computer if they're into work and gaming and music. They're just so engaged. They can be on that laptop for like 8 hours. Some people in Japan, you're on the computer like 11, 16 hours a day. They just love it. We should be like that with our mind and training it in Krishna consciousness. That's how steady we should become. Otherwise, the material world will be continually more and more challenging. That is the rare gift of Krishna consciousness. And enthusiasm is the first step to spiritual life. Utsaha nichayadharya tata karma pravartana sangha tyagat satovrite sabir bhakti prasiddhiti. It starts with enthusiasm. Then one can develop a little confidence, steadiness. And then once someone has steadiness, then they become patient. And then Krishna consciousness is very natural. So I hope was that helpful? Do you have any follow-up?
No, it was helpful. It's still helpful.
Potential is there, but we have to engage it properly. I use that analogy because we should never feel bored in Krishna consciousness. We should never have doubts or laments or be. Krishna is saying this to Arjuna throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Why are you lamenting? Why does this doubt? Right? So it's a reminder. The modes will work on us and the mind will go through these, but that's when we can hold on to the process. And over time, these things will start to go less and less doubt, less fear, less lamentation, less grief. It will start to go down. And it just requires us to use the mind the way the spiritual master has requested. And it's the potential means fun. The potential means pratiyaksha vagadarm dharmyam. Once someone has that taste, this Krishna consciousness is joyfully performed. Anything?
Yeah, I'll have to contemplate on this. Yeah, but I have another question. What is weakness of heart?
What is weakness of heart?
Yeah.
So when Arjuna was first making his point about not fighting, talking about unwanted progeny and how, talking about dharma and sounding very righteous, Prabhupada is saying in the purport that this is the quality of a devotee, compassion. But at some point, he becomes a little bit intoxicated with this righteousness. And due to that intoxication, he develops a weakness of heart. At some point, it crosses over to this, to sense gratification, right? First, it's compassion. but then it becomes sense gratification. And at that point, it's Krishna is declaring it a weakness of heart. You see, so a kshatriya has to protect children, protect society, protect women. So that compassion has to be there. But when it comes to their occupational duty of a kshatriya, and back then they had to fight, then they cannot become, have that. It's like being miserly, you could say, weakness of heart. That weakness of heart makes the mind subjugated to the modes, and thus they can't, their intelligence becomes slackened.
Like you said, first it was compassion,
Yeah.
and then I think due to overindulgence, it went into
Yes, he became a little intoxicated by his sense of righteousness. So,
but I'm sure that Arjuna didn't see the distinction, or when he was stepping the line, when he was in that moment. So how do you know when you have moved into weakness of heart? Like, am I making sense?
Yes, if we're not on the level of advanced devotee, then we have to have association. Only an advanced devotee can really be conscious if they are towing the line, right? But if we're still advancing in our Krishna consciousness, then it's practically we are still dependent on someone to kind of reflect, our feelings, our emotions that may come up. So, in that sense, if we go out and we live on our own, and we just try to work and maintain an apartment or something, this will happen often, where we don't know where the line is between compassion and just weakness of heart. Practically speaking, the modes can really work on us if we're by ourselves, like especially early in our beginning in our Krishna consciousness, and it'll feel kind of overwhelming because we're sensitive. We come here, we become more sensitive, and so it's recommended to try and stay in association. Go ahead.
Okay, Gurudev, we can hear you.
So, new devotee, he might be thinking, I've read Bhagavad Gita, I understand everything. And then thinks himself quite wise, having read the Bhagavad Gita. And he may get an idea how he can spread Krishna consciousness. For example, I know a new devotee. He's very enthusiastic. He liked to preach, he liked to distribute books. And so he thought a good place to do that would be where he used to hang out a lot, which was a bar. So he went to the bar at nights, and he was thinking he was really doing well. But the elder devotee said, "This is not very good for you. You're getting attached again to the same old ways you were doing before. And it won't be too long before you're back completely involved. So better you don't do this." That was difficult for the devotee, the new devotee, because he attached to a kind of compassion for these people because he knew them and he cared about them. And he also thought that he understood why he was kind of proud of himself. So that's the type of how we can become carried away in the mind, and we have to take shelter of the advanced devotees. They'll put us back in the line. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I just was reminded of a quick example from Shastra of weakness of heart, kind of exemplified. After Kurukshetra, when Vidura returns back to the palace of Yudhishthir Maharaj, who's been repositioned on the throne, Dhritarashtra is still living there at the palace, despite all the offenses that he's made against the Pandavas. He's set their house on fire. He's usurped their kingdom. He's actually done all the things that warrant his own death to come to him. But still, at the good nature of the pure devotee of the Pandavas, they allow him to stay. But I was reflecting the weakness of heart in that situation is that Dhritarashtra knew what he was doing. He knew how low he had fallen, how pathetic he had become in remaining in the kingdom, but still being too afraid to go beyond into the unknown of leaving that comfortable lifestyle. Like I highlighted here, the miserly person, they waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, the material concept. So I thought that was one particular example of a miserly
But
person.
to elaborate on your point, that whether he was conscious of his miserly position or not is not illicitly stated. But it does state that when Vidura had returned from his pilgrimage, he had heard Bhagavatam and he had seen Uddhava, and now he was coming back, and his family, like Kunti, the Pandavas that were still around, they embraced him with so much affection and love. And after some time, he was seeing Dhritarashtra's position, and he really felt, since he's a devotee, he's a Mahajan, he really felt the perplexing miserly situation that Dhritarashtra was in. And by the mercy of his compassion, he evoked him to say, you need to go out. And the nice thing, if you read Bhagavatam, is he responded according to that instruction. So without the devotees who are so deep in compassion to sometimes give us the example like Maharaj is doing here, we can lose that full consciousness. But Vidura really saved Dhritarashtra his life, and Dhritarashtra was actually able to go to the forest and leave his body the proper way. And his wife Gandhari was with him, so they were able to make spiritual advancement despite all of his terrible actions. Terrible. So that's the mercy of Vidura. So. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.